I'm Trent with Columbus Epoxy Flooring. Behind me, we have an outside patio. We get a lot of inquiries for outside work. Now, these types of projects aren't something that we focus on as an installer, but we wanted to go ahead and put together a video just kind of showing the materials we do like to use for these types of installations and go over some application techniques. We're also going to be able to get everything done today with these materials. And by the end of this video, you'll know how to tackle these types of projects. Some of the challenges that you typically face for outside work, number one would be direct sunlight, and this also pertains to inside as well. If you've got certain lights that emit UV light, it'll discolor that coating over time. So the materials that we're going to be using today are UV stable. Another challenge that you face with outside work is just the constant exposure to the elements. We're coming into the fall here. It could be leaves like you see around us. The biggest one would be rain. One of the drawbacks is going to be you're not going to have a lot of working time with the materials. So we'll kind of show, techniques to kind of circumvent those potential problems as we get into the installation. So before we get into the project, before we do anything, like with any project, you're going to have to properly prep the surface. So because this is such a small area, I'm just going to go ahead and diamond grind with a hand grinder over this whole surface. I just have my grinder here that you see, just a 7-inch angle grinder with a 12 segment medium bond cup wheel, normally 16 to 30 grits, plenty sufficient. And then obviously we have our vacuum attached just to keep all the dust down and contained. When you're working on these types of slabs, this is a broom finished concrete. So it's a very common question that we get is, because it's broom finished with all the texture in it, do you have to prep it? The answer would be yes. So just because you have that texture, you've still got contaminants on the surface, and then it's still finished out. You get what's called a cream that rises to the top. So that surface is actually closed out. So it's best to diamond grind it. And it's not only just to open up the pores, but it also kind of smooths it out a little bit as well. So it's opening up the pores and then it's taking away that broom finish, which is going to leave a better finish for your coating, and you're going to have a better final product in the end. Now, something else with these broom finish concretes that it's good to be aware of is that they do tend to have a lot of wave because of how they're installed. So when I'm grinding this, or if you go to grind one of these projects yourselves, you're going to notice a lot of wave. Just try to get everything ground the best that you can. If you've got low spots, maybe just spend a little bit of time grinding those just to try to flatten everything out the best that you can. One of the things that we're going to look at before we grind here, over time the concrete settled a little bit. This side over here is a little bit higher than this down here. You can see by the board there's a little bit of a gap. I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time just grinding it so that it's flush to eliminate any potential tripping hazards. So we went ahead and got everything ground out here. As you can see, it's a lot flatter. We spent a little bit of time on this side. If you look, the further you go into the concrete, the bigger the aggregate's gonna get. But you can see just by the board here, you don't have the gap here that we did, which is a sign that it's gonna be a much more flat surface here, evened out, so we don't have the tripping hazard that we had before. So now that we've got it prepped out, next there's just a little bit of spalling. So to address that, we've got a real rapid set material. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio that we've got. So after we skim that out, we're gonna let it set for about 15 to 20 minutes. It'll be grindable at that point. Whenever you apply this material, you should always grind it 100%, just because if you don't, there's a good chance that whatever material you apply over it, it could just blister and fail over time, simply because the rapid set material, once it's cured out, it leaves a little bit of an oily surface on it, and it just cures so quickly that the next coating doesn't get a chance to chemically bond like it would with a lot of other materials. So now that we got everything prepped and ready, we're gonna start to apply our base coat here in a little bit. I just wanna go over everything that we're going to be using to apply that base coat. Anything that we sell, we'll leave links to that in the description. And I'll also leave a list of everything that I'm going over here as well in the description. Now, the most important part with all of this, since it sets up so quickly, is to be prepared before you start. The clock's gonna start ticking and everything's gonna start to move very quickly. So to be prepared here, we've got everything set out. Just these are some of the things here that we're going to need. Our fast set polyaspartic here. Something that is slower is again an option, but the biggest reason that we chose to use that fast set polyaspartic is just because we're exposed to the elements. We've had a kind of a minor chance of rain all day, so we've been wanting to get this thing done as quickly as possible. So whenever we're working with those types of situations, we always try to get something that's going to set up very quickly. We've got chip brushes. I'd have a lot of them handy because again, as this stuff sets up so quickly, it's nice to have extra rollers, brushes, and everything ready so that if it sets up to the point where it's not workable anymore, you can just discard it and go to the next one and start fresh. A paint stick or a mix paddle with a drill. Because we're making such small mixes, I'm just going to go ahead and use the paint stick. It's a little bit easier, just less messy. It's not always required. It's kind of nice to have on hand is a little 4-inch rollers. They're nice if you got really small areas or tight spaces to get into. They're nice to have handy. And then it's always nice to have spikes handy. Got the flake staged in buckets. And then finally, we've got the rollers in the back. So now that we got everything kind of staged, set out here and ready, we're going to go ahead and get this stuff mixed up and get to it. For your base coat, you're applying it at about 150 to 180 square feet per gallon. Now we're going to be making smaller batches again because this stuff sets up so quickly. With this coating, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts A to 1 part B. So we're going to mix it at about 3 quarts a mix. Because we're doing 3-quart mixes, we're going to use a 5-quart bucket here so that everything fits easily into that bucket. We're going to do 2 parts A, 1 quart B, and then about 1/4 of this tint here. We'll mix it together for about 90 seconds. It's got a little bit of a lower viscosity, so it's more watery and it's going to mix together easier. Once it's mixed, the clock's going to start ticking. You've got maybe 5 to 10 minutes working time to get this down and get the flake into it, so it's going to move very quickly. Thankfully, I got a good couple guys here from the crew that are going to help me lay this coat today. We're going to have 2 guys cutting out, and then we're going to actually have 1 guy on spikes with a roller getting the main area laid. It's nice to again have a couple rollers set up in case one tacks up. You can go to the next one so that you can keep moving on the installation. And then the 3rd roller we have set up is actually kind of just a tip that I'll give you for applying the flake. The coating again tacks up so quickly that when you throw the flake onto it, it's not wet enough basically for the flake to get a good bond to it. So if you take that roller, leave the plastic film on it, we'll kind of dry roll over top of the flake, and that kind of just forces the flake into the coating and gives it a nice firm grab onto that base coat. We're going to go block by block, and what I mean by that is you have control joints or expansion joints in the slab. We'll go to the end of each block, stopping at a joint just to kind of help us get our bearing so that it doesn't get away from us and we don't leave roller marks and things like that in the middle of the floor. And then when we flake, the flake's going to fall over on the side where there's no coating. We'll kind of take the leaf blower and blow that into the other side so we've got nothing but concrete to continue and coat on here. So we got the base coat laid, we got it flaked, went ahead and scraped it with our scrapers. Before we get to apply the top coat, I just want to go over everything really quickly that we're going to be using to apply it. So everything that we got here is obviously our polyaspartic top coat. We'll need chip brushes to cut out the edges, just 1 18-inch roller set up to roll it out. We're going to squeegee this, it's going to get more of a uniform application of the top coat. And then finally we'll go back with the 18-inch roller, do a quick cross roll over everything, and then that'll even out any roller marks and just leave a nice finish. Right here again, we've got our slow set polyaspartic. You don't have to use that extremely fast setting polyaspartic. Another option is we can use a polyaspartic like this here. And I want to mention the mix ratio on this. It's a little bit different than what we used before. The base coat that we used before is a 2-to-1 ratio. This is actually a 3-to-2 ratio. So 3 parts of A to 2 parts of B. It's kind of a weird ratio. So what we'll do is there's enough space in the A. So once we have everything opened up, we'll go ahead and pour the entire can of B into the A, mix it up real well, and then that'll get us a good 2.5 gallon mix. So this area here that we're getting ready to coat, it's only about 300 square feet. We normally use about 120 to 150 square feet per gallon, which should be perfect for about a 2.5 gallon kit. It should only need 1 of these. So we just got the top coat applied. We've got this old slab looking brand new again. So just kind of recap everything. We came in here, we got everything repaired, cracks, divots, and any other imperfections that were present in the slab. We laid our polyaspartic base coat and top coat, which is going to make this system 100% UV stable. We also kind of left the surface a little bit rougher than we normally would. If you've watched any of our other previous videos, normally we'll scrape it a couple times, we'll run a buffer over it, and that just helps to really tighten up the surface. So we intentionally left this a little rougher just because it's outside. That extra texture is just going to help to keep things safe and prevent any slipping when the surface is wet from rain or snow in the winter. If you check out the description, we just left a list of everything that we used for each step, and also links to anything that we sell and links to other items that we may have used. Also, if you go back and check out our page, we have a lot of other videos and content there as well that may help you on other future projects. I'm Trent with Columbus Epoxy, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.